Welcome to Story Chats at Informal Romance. I'm Elizabeth Maddrey, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
I'm Valerie Comer.
And that's Cooney Comer, if you're new. Valerie was like, hurry up and hit record because Cooney wants out.
She does. She's all pushing on my throat at the moment.
She's beautiful.
She is. She's our favorite. Today, we are talking about CCR set in the Mid-Atlantic region of the United States. We consider, because that's, I guess, probably like the royal we, since I'm the one who decided what we're considering the Mid-Atlantic. Although in this case, I did consult the U.S. Geological Survey. So,
well, that was nice of you.
Yeah. The Mid-Atlantic is considered Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. So that is the Mid-Atlantic region. So we're stories set therein. So was this easier, harder, or about the same in terms of difficulty of finding books that fit the category, Narelle?
Well, if we just wanted to do the Elizabeth Maddrey episode, it would be incredibly easy because you have a number of series that are set in that area. But otherwise, I mean, this was an episode I was planning to read something for, and then I've been too busy being nursemaid for sick COVID family members, which took my reading time. And so then I was scrounging through, searching on my blog, putting in all the states to try and work out what exactly was set there. So there's actually one book I didn't even realize was set there, which made me very happy.
Yeah.
There goes Coon. Over and out.
Excellent.
I found it easier because of the Elizabeth Maddrey show, but also Toni Shiloh and Heather Gray. It was, so I had to go, okay, so outside of this area, what else have I read? What else do I know about? Yeah. So yeah.
Kind of like, the DC area is like New York City was for the New England. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, that was my experience as well. I'm like, okay, kid, they can't all be set in Metro DC. we gotta branch out a little bit. All right, so we can just jump in. Narelle, you want to lead off?
I will. So I was pleasantly surprised when I did my little search to discover that My Stubborn Heart by Becky Wade is set in a small town in Pennsylvania. That made me very excited because I realized that Pennsylvania is actually Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed to work out North Carolina wasn't Mid-Atlantic because I could have done North Carolina a lot easier.
So you're ready for next time.
Yeah, that's the next one. So you're good.
Yes. I'll be good the next one. So My
I
Stubborn Heart.
actually saw this book and I thought Narelle's going to talk about it.
Yes. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've spoken about this one a number of times. But basically, it's a small town in Pennsylvania. Kate accompanies her grandma to fix up the grand old family home. The hero is a former NHL hockey player who is a widower. His wife died of brain cancer. And so he's become very introverted and has all his defenses up, and he's the building contractor who they get in to fix the house. And so it's probably my favorite, still my favorite Becky Wade book. It was her debut book, and I've really enjoyed this one. So I was very happy to be able to add it.
This is not the love triangle, is that correct?
It's not a love triangle.
Okay. I know there's a Becky Wade that is a love triangle, and I should read it, but I don't know that I'm ever going to.
Yeah, the love triangle is the second book in her current series. And I read book 1 and book 3, and I haven't read book 2 either.
Okay.
Because I'm also on the fence about love triangles at times. I've got to be in the right mood to read a love triangle.
Fair.
So I haven't read the second one. I may read it at some point in time. But no, My Stubborn Heart is definitely not a love triangle.
Excellent. Okay.
The whole Pennsylvania thing, like all the searching I did, this was the only book that came up that was not Amish.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else, it was just like Amish as the year is long.
There is a big Pennsylvania Dutch component there. Yeah. So yeah, that's not too surprising. I do actually have a book set in Pennsylvania that is not Amish, that is not Becky Wade. So, but we'll get
Yeah,
there.
go.
Is it Lancaster? Is it Lancaster County that's in
That's so
Pennsylvania?
famous. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Lancaster County is about a 2-hour drive for me. So we go up sometimes. The food is amazing, as you know, home cooked
As it would be.
Amish food / Mennonite food is, yeah. But yeah, Lancaster County, and then they have cute little town names like Bird in Hand and Paradise and all kinds of little tiny Amish town names. But it's fun.
But we're not the Amish show.
But we're not the Amish
No.
show. No, in fact, we're not. But that mine is like book number 3, so we'll probably get to mine. But Valerie, you go next.
Well, I'm just going to start with this author that nobody's heard of, Elizabeth Maddrey, because we have to go here. Almost all, not quite all, of Elizabeth's books do take place in Washington, D.C. or nearby. But I think for those of our listeners who have not read the Billionaire books, you should go start. And I really find that I feel as though I've been to DC through your books, and I have never been. But the first Billionaire series, yes, people, there's 2, is very keyed in on it. But the second one is the Billionaires Nanny, kicks that one off. And I just really found that the feeling of the neighborhoods, the feeling of getting around in DC and stuff was really strong in all of these books, but I would pick on the Billionaires Nanny for that one. Just if you haven't started reading those, and I've probably, you may find that I lie a little bit. You used to would have said that I didn't read Billionaire books. I guess I do, partly because of Elizabeth's though. So if you don't think you do, go read them, get these, and go to Washington. Have fun. Done.
Yay.
Done that bit.
Yay. All right. So my first one is Cottage at the Beach by Tobin McClain. And I was like, that's book 1 in the off-season series. And I just chose it purely because it's book 1. I would recommend the whole off-season series. It is more sweet than straight CCR because it is published by Harlequin, not Love Inspired. So they're longer, which I like.
Where did they take place?
They're on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So Maryland has like the Chesapeake Bay goes up sort of between the coast, and then it hooks over, and then like there's like river, the Chesapeake Bay here, and then the Eastern Shore of Maryland is over here. So they have bay on one side and ocean on the other.
Okay.
And so it's a unique little place that is, when I think of Maryland, I tend to think of the Eastern Shore, because that is your crabbing location. The Chesapeake Bay is where a lot of the crabs, which are, if you think of food in Maryland, you're going to come up with crabs more than likely. If you know food in Maryland, that's what you're going to come up with. And then they do oyster dredging there still too. And it's sort of sleepy little towns, sleepy little fisher towns, almost, as if Maine came south, that same sort of feel of sleepy little fisher towns. And these books are set in a sleepy little fisherman town on the water. And they have the Victory Cottage for wounded veterans of some sort, police officers, veterans, heroes of some sort, who need a place to recover. Often they have dogs, a canine companion of some sort. And I just love all the combinations of things that she's worked into the series while still really highlighting recovering from emotional and physical trauma. She has, she hits on all sorts of different friendships and still managed, even even though they're not technically Christian, there's a strong faith thread in almost all of the books. It's there. In in some points, I'm like, this is a stronger faith thread than I see in some books that call themselves Christian. So because sometimes, and I mean, that's not a dig. That's not meant to be a dig at all, because sometimes there's more of a faith thread that happens naturally as you're writing the story, and sometimes it's less. I mean, that ebbs and flows. So absolutely not intended as a dig. I just think Lee weaves it in beautifully. And naturally, particularly when writing for a secular publisher, that she's able to get it in so subtly and beautifully that it is integral to the story and yet not offensive in any way.
And her editor doesn't make her take it out.
Right. Yeah. That's the offensive in any way bit. I imagine her editor would be like, Lee, this isn't love inspired. Because she does also write for Love Inspired. But this series I just love. And to me, like, you couldn't take the series and put it anywhere else except for maybe on the coast of Maine and have it make any sense.
Yeah.
It is quintessential to that Maryland shore, which I love.
Cool. Yeah. I didn't even think of those books, although I have read them and enjoyed them because because I couldn't remember where they took place. I knew it was somewhere on the Eastern Shore, but those of us who live very far away, such as in British Columbia, Canada, don't always remember exactly where the places are we've read about.
This one, since I live mid-Atlantic, was a little easier for me. I will absolutely admit it, for sure. All right, Narelle, what's your number 2?
Well, my number 2, I'm going to talk about a series, which is Toni Shiloh's Maple Run series. So I haven't read these books for a while, so I'm a bit hazy on details, but there's 4 books in the series, and it's the diner called the Peach, was it the Peach Pit?
Maple.
Oh, I got that wrong.
Maple Pit. That's Maple Pit.
Maple Pit. Yeah, sorry, I'm doing well. It has all the maple themed foods, and that absolutely intrigued me. Was all the food that has maple in it. So, and this is just a really fun series set in small town. It's Virginia, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've got that right. Yeah, I'm doing well.
You do. It's on my wrist, so I'm going to sound really confident here.
Yes, and so the food's good. I think there might have been a military hero in one of the books, but it's just a really nice, fun, small town series, and it ticks the Mid-Atlantic box, which wasn't necessarily easy for me to find.
Excellent. Good choice. Valerie?
My second one is Janice Thompson's book called Saltwater Taffy. Taffy being the name of the heroine. And of course, her family owns a candy shop, right?
Yes.
It's set on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Okay.
So a place I have never been, but it kind of came alive to me reading the story because I could envision what I've seen pictures here and there over the years as well, but it is not something that could take place just in any random small town somewhere else. So that really felt like it was part of it. Taffy's family owns Carini's Confections. They have owned it for generations. And when the vintage taffy pulling machine breaks down, they need to find somebody who can actually manufacture a part for it. Well, first they try to just get a repairman, but that's not going to work because they don't make them anymore. So Ryan Antonelli is the repairman. He works for his dad. He gets to figure out how to manufacture the parts for this. So that keeps them back and forth in this budding relationship for a while. So the setting couldn't really be anywhere else, as the influx of newer casinos and the pull in the community, like some being in favor of adding these casinos and some thinking it's ruining, the life they've always lived here in Atlantic City. So this book probably was written 10 or more years ago, so that's probably changed. Storms off the Atlantic as well. There's a lot there that just really builds on that setting right smack on the ocean. So
cool. Love it.
So is Atlantic City
2 other books in that series, which I have not read. Pardon? Go ahead.
Is Atlantic City like Las Vegas on the East Coast in terms of casinos?
I cannot answer that.
Not sort of, but not really. I would say they probably are the closest thing to Las Vegas that we have on the East
Okay.
Coast, but they are still very much a boardwalk beach town as well. So if you take like, I don't even know, because not all beaches have like a boardwalk with the sort of carnival atmosphere of a boardwalk. So then you have that plus casinos at Atlantic City to sort of get those together. So ish, but you know, people in on the East Coast, if they don't get a $50 flight to Las Vegas, because it feels like everybody flies to Vegas for $50 these days, they do a trip to Atlantic City for the weekend to gamble is not unusual, but you know, it would be a thing certainly for those who are within easy distance. Yeah.
Interesting. I was going to say that it's the first book in a series. Her two sisters are the other two heroines, but I have not read those, and it looks as though they take place mostly elsewhere, but come back to Atlantic City because that's where their roots are. But anyway, this one was all there.
Excellent. All right, so my next one was actually going to be Toni's series, so I will skip to my third one, which is in Pennsylvania, but not Amish.
Right.
And that is The Farmer's Daughter by Lisa R. Howeler. She is an indie author. She doesn't have a ton of books out, but I enjoyed this one. It's set in Pennsylvania, small farming town, Pennsylvania. It has it almost teeters into women's fiction because it really has so much going on. There's small farm, like keeping the farm active, being able to pay your bills. The bank is trying to overtake them. You know, the big corporate farms are pushing out the smaller farms. Very true to life struggles of small town farming. That are a big part of this family. It's a family, the girl, and the girl still works. She's never left town. She was going to go to college, but didn't. Her brother did, but then came home. And he brought with him his best friend from college who majored in computer science, but would come home to the farm with him on vacations and such, and fell in love with farming. So came back there instead of doing computers. So it is brother's best friend. Which is kind of fun. I always like brother's best friend. There's also, like, it's got hints of other romances going on. The brother has a longtime girlfriend that he seems hesitant to commit to. So there's some drama there. And then just the whole small town, you really do get to know all the people, you know, who they are. They all come alive. The town itself, if you've read any of the Mitford books, where all the characters, and you get to know all the characters, there are elements of that in this where at times I had to like pause and I'm like, wait, okay, that's who that is, you know, because there were so many, but it fit. And you really did feel like you were just sort of hanging out in this small farming town as they went through and conquered these. And then of course we have the romance with the brother's best friend. But this is why I'm like, it sort of teeters women's fiction, because the romance at parts is definitely not the main thrust of what's happening. But it's still there. And it was good. I enjoyed it quite a lot. It is a longer novel.
That was my question, because it's almost, you can't add to a romance at a shorter length.
It is longer. It took me several days to read, not because I was disinterested or having, you know, not having time to read, but just because there was a lot of it to read. But it was quite good and I enjoyed it. And I think this is the first book of hers that I read, but I'll be looking for
I'll have to look that up, because those are some themes and stuff that
I thought of you.
To me.
I think you would enjoy it quite a lot.
Okay.
Especially if you enjoy farming and those aspects. And they do actually, part of saving the farm is transitioning into sort of a more organic milk process and testing their cows to see if they give A2 milk, which I guess has different enzymes. So some people who are lactose intolerant can handle it. So anyway, it's really interesting. Lots of farming. I believe Lisa lives on a farm, so you can tell she knows farms quite a lot. So enjoyed it. You have a third, Narelle? We got time.
I think I might just very quickly mention the Peacock Hill romances. I think out of the ones, I think probably because the setting, you've got the wedding venue B&B.
And who are those by, Narelle?
I don't know that person. What was the name again? Elizabeth Maddrey.
Okay, well, just not everybody might know.
Yeah, so there's 6 books in the series, and it's based around the B&B wedding venue, and it's in Virginia, I think, if I got that right. So it's a small town, or is it suburban? I'm having a bit of a brain blip.
It's down in the southwest corner of Virginia, or almost to the southwest corner, in a small town, small sort of foothills of the Blue Ridge town.
Good, I'm remembering it correctly, because I'm thinking it's small town. Then I'm second guessing because you write urban, and so
Except
so I really
except when I don't.
So true. So I really enjoyed that series. So that's, if you're looking for small town Virginia, then that's a good one to start with.
Especially if you like to follow the progress on a renovation destination type place. This was a huge project, but that thread runs through all of the books from initial starting to tackle this immense project through to it being in use. So there's a lot of fun stories in that little world.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What you got, Valerie? What's your third?
Then I'm just going to pop over to Heather Gray's Informal Romance series in particular. Most of these take place in the DC area, and most of them are hospital related. I think all of them are, but I didn't actually go back and look at every single title. But we have ICU nurses, we have state troopers, we have awkward research scientists that work at a hospital. We have all kinds of characters. The one that I was specifically thinking of with this episode was an informal introduction. And Lily is an ICU nurse with a high profile political patient. So she becomes the unwilling focus of the media as they're trying to get to her high profile patient. And there is, in fact, a state trooper who is very helpful in keeping the media at bay. So that is strangely enough somebody she might fall in love with. But that was certainly a different angle as far as a meet cute, or as something that's forcing a couple to stay together, because it wasn't a suspenseful story. It was just this annoying media, and a story that really didn't seem like it could take place very many other places because of the political person in ICU. So that was mine. And then I had Toni Shiloh's Maple Run in here too, so I'm done.
Excellent. All right, so this is my last one that I have. I actually went into Avid I searched through the group to see if there were any recommendations there, and there were actually, I found a couple posts where people were reading a book in every state. So I scrolled through some of those lists and happened upon Suddenly Lily by Deborah Nolan, which is set in New Jersey.
Okay.
And so I saw it recommended fairly highly by the person who had posted about it. So I went over and I looked, and I was a little concerned on Amazon because it's published by Montlake. And so I don't consider, that's an Amazon imprint, and I don't consider it CCR at all. But it had the categories. So I read it. I really did enjoy the story a lot. She is a attorney for DCFS, the Child Protective Services, basically. And so she works with the social workers and the courts to ensure that children are either, like, parents are either helped to provide for their children so that they can keep their children, or when necessary, children are removed and placed into foster care, either temporarily or permanently, to try and make sure that they're cared for if their parents are being neglectful or whatever. So she's the legal end of that process, working in a courtroom. And in the courtroom, she's an assistant district attorney, I guess, as part of the, so anyway, in the courtroom is a sheriff who works in the courtroom, and fancy that, he is also the romantic interest.
No.
But he also, he has a side job of helping to sort of gentrify has such a negative connotation generally, but they're taking old brownstones in Jersey City and fixing them back up so that they are in better shape and renting them out. So he's trying to become, with his two brothers, a bit of a landlord as sort of a side gig. So he helps her get an apartment in one of his buildings, and that sort of kicks things off for them. I will say, I read it all the way to the end. It is absolutely not CCR. There is a lot of drinking in the book, like lots and lots of drinking, not drunkenness, but like they'll go out to a bar after work and then go home and have another glass or two of wine. And it's like more alcohol on a daily basis than I'm comfortable with. And I don't necessarily have a problem with people drinking occasionally, but this is not what I consider a good level of alcoholic consumption. And then she has a boyfriend that's been long distance, who, when things start to get interesting with the sheriff, she realizes she has to break things off. But she goes to visit him and he comes to visit her, and they do stay in the same room, in the same apartment. And there's not even really any indication that they've slept together, but it is clearly stated that they sleep in the same bed. And so I think the indication is that they are sleeping together as a natural, quote unquote, part of their relationship. So it's definitely not Christian. I would say it probably qualifies as sweet clean because there's nothing explicit.
Right.
But for our listeners, I wanted to be very clear that while it's well written and I did enjoy it, if these are things that you prefer not to read, this would not be a book that you should read.
That's
so
fair.
Was there any faith element at all in it?
It's sort of tap danced around, but I would say no. I get the feeling that there's a bit of a cultural faith. He is Hispanic, Latino. So there are hints of sort of cultural, probably Catholicism, most likely. And her best friend gets married and they have a full Catholic mass as part of the wedding. So again, there are hints of faith,
Right.
but not really anything more than a cultural. Cultural.
Yeah.
Yet Montlake would be considered Amazon's Christian.
No, I don't think Montlake is Christian. Montlake is just their romance. Their Christian was
Waterfall or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Montlake publishes their romance. And honestly, I had a friend who wrote a couple for Montlake, and she does not write Christian at all. She writes for straight up Harlequin. And she wrote for Montlake, and her Montlake, I read one, and it was like way racier than I was comfortable with, especially since she's my friend. And I'm just like, I can't reconcile the person that I know in this writing. So I need to not read these books.
Fair enough.
And so to me, Montlake is very racy. So this was very, very tame for what I think of with a Montlake book. But I almost didn't mention it, but it is a good story if you don't mind those things, because it is clean.
Fair enough.
Yeah. but it was also recommended from Avid. So if you come, if you are in Avid and you see recommendations, do still check them out.
Do your own homework.
Yeah,
That's
do your.
what I tell people as well when they go, well, how do I know which are the Christian authors or the Christian books? And I'm like, you really have to do your own homework. I'm
Yes.
sorry, because they'd like a list. Well,
there's no list, and there's no way to make a list.
There's no way to make a list. So the only thing you can do is ask somebody who's read it.
Yeah.
Or read the look inside, look at the categories, look at a few reviews, maybe go to their website. Like if you really want to do some homework on it. And I often do all those things when I come across a book and I'm not sure where it will fall. I almost never will download even a free book unless I have done some studying and determined whether or not it is something that I even stand a chance of actually wanting to read. So always recommend that to readers. You have to do your own homework. Sorry.
But sleeping in the same bed, I think most CCR readers would say that's too much, would be my guess.
Yeah, that's
even,
for my own personal reading, because I do read general market and I do read CCR. I read like all kinds of genres.
You read so stinking fast, though.
Oh my goodness. So I didn't mind it from that standpoint. I minded it from the standpoint of mentioning it here. I was like, if I'm going to mention it here, I need to mention these things because it does cross like a lot of the sweet clean that we recommend. If they stuck some faith element in, it would be fine. You know, it's just, it's sweet clean purely because it doesn't have a faith element. Whereas this is sweet clean
because it doesn't
have sex. That's why it's sweet clean. It doesn't have on the page sex, you know. So I was like, I enjoyed it. If you are a more liberal reader in what you read, it's a good story. If you are not, do not read it.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm just breaking the rules. That's basically what it is. I'm breaking the rules. Anybody have another?
No,
I'm good.
Done. I had Toni's was my fourth.
Yeah, fair. So let us know books in the Mid-Atlantic region, which again are Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. Can I give a quick shout out? This is Christian, absolutely Christian, but it's mystery. So Valerie's like, Heather Gilbert has a Murder in the Mountains series that are in West Virginia. And they are if you want like West Virginia on a page, those books, and gosh, I'm drawing a complete blank on the first book. The heroine is Tess.
I can see the
cover.
Yeah.
They've got sort of a ferny cover.
Heather Day Gilbert.
Murder in the Mountains is the series name. They're fantastic, strong faith element mysteries set in West Virginia, and they couldn't be set anywhere else. They're West Virginia. West Virginia is part of the story. So when I was looking for a romance in West Virginia, although actually Pepper Basham, we should have mentioned Pepper Basham. She has that one that's sort of a riff on Pygmalion that's set in West Virginia. I'll put it in the notes because it's fantastic. She's a speech therapist and he is a West Virginia entrepreneur, and she has to help him not speak like a West Virginia Appalachian sort of hick. I'll find the title and put it in there by Pepper Basham. That's a fantastic. There's a whole series there as well that I've enjoyed.
I'd forgotten that was the setting for those.
Yeah. And I wanted a West Virginia, and I don't know why those didn't occur to me when I was looking for these. Oops. But I'll put them in the show notes. Let us know what we missed because we did. Yeah, yes. There are a lot. We would love to hear from you in the comments on YouTube or on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and that notification bell if you haven't already. We will look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.